Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to CVU. Today's topic is a robust approach to WPBA aligned with EPAs using mobile apps. Today's instructor is Professor Shahid Hassan. Professor Shahid Hassan doesn't need any introduction. I'm sure you know a lot about him, more than I do. But Professor Shahid Hassan is currently serving as the Associate Dean of Academics at the American University of Barbados School of Medicine. He is a great speaker and a great, he has contributed a lot towards medicine, conducting workshops, webinars, and on diverse range of topics. I would like to welcome Professor Shahid Hassan, but before that, I would like Professor Shabi Zaidi to say a few words.
Thank you, Sakina. I think the first thing I'd like to do is introduce you. Sakina is our new host for the programs on behalf of Sadiq International Virtual University. She has an IT background and knows a lot more than I do about the IT. She's based in Florida and USA. So the next programs, webinars, etc., will be continued by Sakina as a host, with Dr. Mubashir advising the technical sides of it. We also have Hasnan Zafar, who is familiar to us. He's based in Malaysia. He'll be joining as a co-host too. So on behalf of Sadiq International Virtual University, I would like to just mention two topics. The work that we were doing for many, many months, the Encyclopedia of Islamic Medical Ethics, we have completed. Sakina is my co-host or co-director or co-editor in that, as a copy editor. And we have something like 40 authors in it. The book has gone to the publishers. They will do a composition, whatever. They'll come back to us in about 15 days. Then we'll finalize it.
We should not forget the services that rendered by Mubashir. Thank you, Mubashir, for all that you have done for SIVU webinars and our conjoint program with the ERA University Lucknow, SIVU ERA University Lucknow. We are looking forward to continuing with you as far as the technical aspects of our webinars and the courses are concerned. Thank you very much. And welcome, Sakina. So I'm going to share my screen to introduce the topic today without wasting further topic is okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Can you all see my screen? Sakina, can you confirm? My screen
Yes,
is visible?
Yes.
Okay. So welcome you all to this, which I have put two flyers. On the right is the flyer which was the webinar delivered on 8th June. This is going to be a continuation of this assessment, which is the most essential, authentic assessment tool in competency-based medical education. So we demonstrated some of the workplace-based assessment tool, mini CX and DOPS are demonstrated through the video clips. This time we are going to move forward. And at this very moment, I would like to also introduce my co-facilitator, and since the topic is about development of the apps for the online, to show you some of the
Dr. Shahid, good afternoon or good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
I didn't recognize. Who is this?
Professor Bukhari.
Okay, because I'm sharing my screen, so I cannot recognize that. I'm sorry. The topic today would be a robust approach to workplace-based assessment aligned with the EPAs using mobile apps. So we are going to introduce dual app-based assessment, which would be numeric and the narrative format of it. Okay, this is the place that I work in Barbados, and here is early morning here. And this is the place, the area linked here, Gary's Hoppers ground where he used to practice here is part of the AUB. So welcome, and things from Barbados. Moving over, learning outcome that we have after attending this, you all would be able to explain the significance of the effectively aligning the workplace-based assessment with EPAs in competency-based medical education context, right? Oh my God, yeah. So I'm also putting up the cognitive domains that each of these learning outcomes will be triggering you for. So distinguishing the numeric versus narrative assessment rubrics in evaluating the competencies, and then to demonstrate the two newly introduced mobile apps to conduct competency-based assessment, which is parallel to competency workplace-based assessment in competency-based medical education. You may call it competency-based assessment. Okay. I'm having issue with the. Okay. Now, finally, the fourth learning outcome is to develop strategies to integrate mobile apps into competency-based medical education for quality assessment. Okay. Now, what is the agenda for today? So I'll be introducing competency-based medical education, objective and the context. Let me have some. Okay. Brainstorming of the prior knowledge. After the introduction, I'll go on Slido. You all, I have already requested you all to download Slido on your mobile or the laptop that you're using, because the new version of the Slido, I hope you all have downloaded that to be part of this interactive session. Then defining the competency-based medical education, workplace assessment, EPAs, and milestone. This will be just a refresher from the previous talk delivered on 8th of June. Then aligning the workplace-based assessment, APAs in competency-based medical education. Then we will go on to brainstorming of the prior knowledge with regard to the apps in Slido 2. Then rating the workplace-based assessment rubric and integrating apps with the workplace-based assessment for usability. And here on, Hassan will take over to do some of the demonstration of those apps. But to start with, I also sent an article which was written in 2018 as an invited, in which theme was basically assessment. So at a large scale, assessments were discussed in this conference, and I was requested to give a summary of those. And the consensus or the congruence or the agreement globally, but assessment, there's still a lot of things to do to be agreed globally to have assessment which is the best for the practice of the competence for the medical education. But until that time, what we all agree is that ultimate to assessment is the competency-based medical education. Whether you like it or not, all curriculum will have to move on towards competency-based medical education. Though outcome-based education is a bigger umbrella which covers competency-based medical education, nevertheless, competency-based medical education explicitly define the competencies, and that is what the niche of the talk for this webinar is. And I'll take you through that to pick up the basics so that when you implement competency-based medical education in your curriculum, you have hardly problem with regards to the terms of and terminologies, right? But what motivated us to develop these apps was this cartoon from Buck. This cartoon was from the famous cartoonist, if I can remember, is the Bud Blakes. Yeah, Bud Blakes is the cartoonist. And it's very interesting. He introduces his dog Stripe. He says he taught Stripe, see him whistling. He said, I taught him, but I didn't say he learned it. This is a great, great message. Here onward, the story begins with, right? And this great message, if I have to take you through, I have developed an infographic here. Was to develop these two apps for the competency-based medical education. So the objective was to assess clinical performance with a robust approach of workplace assessment transferred to EPAs. The specific objective was to develop the mobile apps, which we have, and we will be sharing that. Attention of this webinar would be competency-based medicine at undergraduate level. To remind you, the competency-based medical education has been in place as far as the specialty program is concerned. So every discipline at their level globally, the countries I'm mentioning, those who are practicing competency-based medical education, which predominantly include Canada, USA, UK, Australia, and Saudi Arabia has also started implementing competency-based medical education now. So these countries have already implemented the competency-based medical education, but globally, it is, other countries are still, the medical schools are still trying to implement this. But ultimate, I tell you, is the competency-based medical education for the medical education for this objective, and how we transfer the workplace assessment to EPAs, right? This is a daunting task to develop competency-based medical education curriculum, but since now we have many countries developed it, those can be the guidelines. In Barbados, we practice competency-based medical education curriculum. So still the faculty development program is going on. My accreditation basically is with curriculum around competency-based medical education. So I can looking back with cartoon. So getting inspired, I taught my dog. This was the cartoon ride. So what was missing? You see, within the first four steps, you will see faculty, the formative assessment. So how would I check my instruction worked in this particular instance, right? Incorporating feedback from the learner before this man has this cartoonist in the cartoonist this display. If he has checked on whether the dog can whistle or not, he wouldn't have presented it to someone else. So incorporating the to check the instruction work or not is very important. What does it mean? It means formative assessment, right? Summative, we are proud of being summative. It's a need. We have to have a summative assessment, but I tell you, summative assessment doesn't give you the feedback that is required for teacher to improve their instructions. Often, formative assessment or the feedback in formative or summative assessment is considered to have feedback from teacher to the student. That is not that important. Feedback from students to teacher is most important, right? And this opportunity is provided to you in formative assessment. So incorporating field learner is very important, and evaluating one own instruction as formative assessment makes the game to begin with, whereby you may think as a teacher that you are the best teacher, your delivery is the best on a particular topic, but I tell you, when you take the feedback from the students, the story may be different or may motivate you to. The next was after, so this opportunity to have the feedback on your instruction is provided with the formative assessment. So I'm insisting on, in my previous talk also, I don't believe anymore between the boundaries between formative and summative assessment. If you look at the programmatic assessment, this boundary has been diluted. And if you do not dilute and adhere to the very strict definition of the formative assessment, you cannot move on to implement your competency-based medical education. I have talked a lot on that in my previous talk, okay? Now, what is this formative assessment? Is basically you try to look at the learning outcome, whether you have been meeting the learning outcome or not. So other three blue lines, you can see monitoring the learning transfer to the real world situation and knowing what next step my learner needs to perform. That's important, right? Meeting the learning outcome by learners. So that's about the learning outcome. Then we are moving further on from out the authenticity of the assessment, which is very important now in medical education. We are dealing with the community, we are dealing with the human beings, so we should be very authentic rather than mock in our training. So when it comes to authenticity, we're moving to competency-based medical education in terms of workplace-based assessment incorporated with competency-based medical education. So tailoring instruction to real-world performance, and then integrating workplace-based assessment into competency-based assessment, and creating competency-based assessment, right? Which means authentic assessment of the innovation, and me and my team will be introduced to you later. So we move on from here. So let me have a little refreshing for you from the previous talk, competency-based medical education versus outcome-based medical education, right? On the left, you see is the outcome-based education. As we start with developing an outcome-based medical education approach for a curriculum, we go for the need assessment of the curriculum. But compared to that, in competency-based, we look at the need assessment of the community. The difference is this one: need assessment of the curriculum versus need assessment of the community for the healthcare system. Then, as we know, I haven't included here in my previous talk, I have three infographic. One was the traditional. I excluded that has become now obsolete. So I'm not bringing that into debate here. But here onward, in traditional, we know I have discussed it a lot, but learning outcome was the last to establish. In outcome-based education and competency, learning outcome is the first to be established if you are developing a curriculum. So learning outcome here is what students can do in outcome-based education. But in competency-based, it is tasks transferred into at work. So a simple definition of EPAs, as I told you last time, was the task in work, right? So the difference, this is the second difference. The third difference is about the assessment. In outcome-based education, how learning be measured, right? How learning is measured, you have some of the paper pencil tests, you have MCQs, you have other, even the clinical, you have short cases, long cases, or OSCE, they are all in, right? So those are mock, or those are the lab-based, or those are the created especially for the assessment purposes. But here, in competency-based, task is converted or transferred into EPAs at workplace, and students, what they see, the real patient, or what they see in the ward and the outpatient clinic, they are actually assessed in those settings. Third difference. The fourth one is the curriculum itself. So you develop the learning outcome first, then assessment to measure whether the learning outcome is being met or not, and then you think of the teaching learning. But in traditional, it was just the reverse. So this curriculum come in the last, after having the learning outcome sets, the assessment to meet the learning, to check whether the learning outcome is met or not, then we think of the teaching learning experiences, right? So it's a two-way traffic compared to outcome-based education, where from teacher, the learning goes to learner. Here, learner take the onus of their teaching, right? So the competencies entrustment is very important. There we have, this is the fifth difference. We always look at the outcome-based education, the constructive alignments. For example, we have set 4 learning outcomes, and the institution has to decide when would they claim that the learning outcome has been achieved in outcome-based education. For example, school says if 80% student passes, we have achieved the OBE. But what about those 20 who fail? This is one. Second, the learning outcome, those who have passed may not have been achieved by all the 80% students who passed the assessment will achieve the all 4 or 5 or 10 or whatever learning outcome the program has set for, right? So here in competency-based medical education, it is the duty of the program, it is the duty of the supervisors that everybody entered into the program ultimately has the entrustment of having the core competencies achieved for the safe practice of the community. Okay. Now, what the 4 steps would be in curriculum, if you are going to design it based on the competency-based medical education. First thing is that you need to observe your learners. Observation, then you do the coaching, and then you do the assessment. So the mainstay of this 4th step is the explicitly defined expectations compared to outcome-based education. So here the EPAs are the explicitly defined competencies. Okay. Now, looking at the continuing with the journey towards the app, I would say there's a paradigm shift from mock assessment to authentic assessment in terms of workplace-based assessment and competency-based assessment, right? So we have invented 2 apps which together will provide you the best assessment of the students. We'll talk to you later, but let me have at this point check you only 3 items I have here. So can you scan this? Can you scan this QR code before I move on to it's nothing to check your performance here, but just to enlighten you with what is necessary to move on in this webinar. So if you all have a scan, I move on. Okay. Are you getting this question on your mobile?
Yes,
phone?
we can, yeah, we can access, but
Okay.
if those who cannot access this poll, please scan this QR code and you will be able to join back.
Yeah, I have put QR code again here, or they can use this the code. So the first question is about what are the advantages and limitation of using numeric rating checklists for assessing the clinical competencies in workplace-based assessment. So you are provided with 4 options. You have to click one of these. First is provides objective and quick evaluation, but lacks depth. Second, focuses on standardized scoring, and then the personalized feedback. Third, give immediate feedback, but too rigid for nuance detailing. And fourth is offers clear structure, but limited insight. Good that we have started responding. Another one. Okay. Yet another. Continue, moving on. Good. Good. You will find there's no very clearly demarcated right answer, but what I want you to be little triggered with moving on to this journey for the competency-based medical education to pick up the gist of what is going to make your concept very clear in this journey. So we have a good number. So If I can wait one more minute, maybe to continue. Okay. What I'm happy about, as we moved on, finally you touched on to the first choice, which is 64%. And I'm very happy about it because this is the right answer, provides objective and quick evaluation, but lacks depth. So we will answer how to address this depth. Now, moving on to the second question. How do you think narrative feedback impacts learners' development compared to the numeric rating alone? Now, keep responding to this also. There are 4 options here. I want to see you. First click, okay? Okay. Good. Good. 38, 38, the first 2. Quite close, first and second option. Okay, first is not incorrect as well, but the right answer would be second one, which provides personalized feedback, right? It provides you personalized feedback. So moving on to the third, what changes do you foresee in transitioning from manual rating methods to mobile app-based assessment in clinical setting? So what are the challenges that you might encounter when you are moving from manual to a technology-based assessment and competency-based medical education? There are 4 options again.
I think, Prof, here we can select multiple options, right?
No, one correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Though others, I would say partially correct, but there is one correct answer, like one best answer MCQ. I think here there's a very clear demarcation between the first option versus the other, and that's rightly true. It actually learning curve for both the faculty and trainees and the trainees initially. So it basically this is the correct answer in terms of the learning curve, which is an ongoing mechanism here in moving from the pedagogy to technology, where both teacher and the students will take time, but nevertheless, their learning curve will keep improving if they are practicing with technology as well, right? So moving on to sorry, I have lost the slideshow. Okay. So moving on, the competency-based medical education, the literature, by literature definition, is an outcome-based approach to design, implementation, assessment, and evaluation of medical education in a very organized framework of the competencies. So first take is to identify your competencies of the task, transfer it to EPAs, and then move on. A competency desired describe a key set of the abilities required to do a job in any occupation and then achieve that. That's the difference between outcome-based education, where constructive alignments you have said, your institution have said 70% is like attending, achieving the learning outcome. But here, every student after the intake who join the program, it is the duty of the program that every one of them become competent in the core competencies in the program. So the EPAs and milestones, again, a refresher for you, is a key task of discipline, and that trainees can be trusted. But I tell you, to call this EPAs, because when we move on to competency, these terms basically bother. And it is different from the milestone, and also EPs are your tasks transformed into tasks of the competency in work, right? So tasks of the competency transformed into EPAs, into workplace is your EPAs. So task in work is EPA, okay? And these EPAs are observed through certain milestones which are set at the level of the training and at the level of the attainment. So there are two levels for milestones, training level and the attainment level, and I'll talk more about this. That feedback is the mainstay in competency-based medical education, competency-based assessment, or the workplace-based assessment, that you provide a feedback. So all assessment, there's a specific time assigned for the feedback, and that is mandatory, okay? This demonstrates trainees' learning and progress in the program, and also to look back over the teaching learning strategies. But how EPA help us to solve a certain problem? Number one, this is what I have picked up from my editorial written in 2018 about the conference entirely based on the assessment at the global level. So dissatisfaction with the assessment system currently being used, right? Various other systems, EPAs is an answer to that, to move towards satisfaction. Practice of the competencies framework often based on simulation. In EPAs, we have to do it in real world. We have to do it at the workplace, okay? So practice of competencies is not mock. Need for transparent assessment framework, it must be fair and transparent. So when they perform in a real life situation and when they are given and given as an affirmative assessment over time, which is then considered for a summative decision later on by a committee. So it's very fair and transparent, and focus on autonomy for the stakeholders. When I say stakeholder, I mean public and the students, who are often missed in our stakeholders in a curriculum that we design. They are basically the most important. Whatever we do as a medical educator, we develop institution, we develop curriculum, we develop program, it is all to address the healthcare system in your community or in your country or your region, okay? I do not know how I get this. Okay. So moving on to to give you a more the visual impact of other. The most important is stones that you do it formatively. Most of the the assessment done in workplace-based assessment currently is the formative, right? And that's why the feedback is very important. Based on the feedback, you do the coaching, okay? Now, learning outcome of the outcome-based education is transferred into EPAs and milestones, what makes OBE to a competency-based medical education. So in a specialty and discipline-based, this is well developed globally. The problem comes when we implement the competency-based medical education in undergraduate program. It's not an easy task, I tell you. Most of the competencies are very generic, and they may vary from center to center, institution to institution, country to country, depending on their cultural and social needs and all. So it's not an easy task. It's a daunting task, but never accomplish that. So that's keeping in mind that we are struggling to move on competency-based education from a specialist training, which is very well settled, to a undergraduate training. So the EPAs demonstrated and observed a different milestone, provide a clear idea of the competencies expected from the trainees. And when we sign them off, a supervisor sign them off, it is the point, not in terms of numeric, right? Number, whether somebody takes your cutoff point standard setting is 60% marks he gets, and he gets approved to be a certified practitioner. But what about 40% knowledge that he lacks? Okay, so that's a thing which I have been talking a lot on that, because I'm considered a little rebellion and assessment in these issues, but these are the issues. I simply see, if I know a practitioner who has passed the exam in MBBS with 60%, I would like to send my family members or myself, would I go to visit his clinic when I know 40% he's lacking in his competencies? Anyway, that's not the forum to debate this, but let's see, to look at the explicit expectation of the EPAs that we have set, whether achieved or not. Okay, more coaching and guidance based on the feedback, know what to teach and assess, monitor the trainees' progress, and identify the gaps in teaching. But may I ask at this point, though time doesn't allow me, but how many of your centers that you're practicing as an educator there have the program for those who cannot in the program? Do you have the probation program for your students? Anyone? How do you address your students who cannot cope up in your program, though taken into your program based on the intake criteria? So in the interest of the time, I may move on, but you can give in the chat box. Now, very important aspect of the competency-based medical education is the competency-based design. CanMed is the first to have come up with this design, right? But this is, you see both sides. On the right side is the ACGME and right side is CanMed. But one is for the level of attainment, and the other is for level, one is for level of training, and other is for the level of attainment in CanMed. But you will realize that it starts for, this is made for the residency program, right? It is residency, right? Not for the internship or earlier on. So from the MD they enter into residency program, then transition from orientation until the certification level, having achieved the core competencies, and then they are certified practitioner, and then they may do further fellowship and all. So this is the level of training. So accordingly, your APAs will be developed, right? Then the level of attainment, I'll go on to move on to the next slide. Level of attainment is that when you start a program and your new intake, ideally you should have observed them, but not coach them or not provide them with the supervision. So this will be the basic data that you will have on entry into a program about any student, right? So you just, for example, you may be wondering how history taking can be done from a student who is entering from studying physics, chemistry, biology, and all. Well, you can check them with the communication skills, right? You can give them scenarios, you can these other and then just see, but don't coach them. Just see what level of attainment they are when it comes to communication skills, because history taking is an art more than a science, and is based basically on interviewing skill, communication skills, or history taking skills. So this is your level 1, okay? But when they are further given supervision, mandatory supervision, proactive supervision is level 2. And when they have acquired certain skills and competency, but they still feel they need more supervision. So supervision on demand is reactive supervision, which is level 3. Supervision from distance or the post hoc, meaning that the supervisor is at a distance and students feel or trainee feel he is competent enough to do. But in case when he feel that he need an assistant, he can contact, is a level 4. And to the stage where they can teach their junior is level 5. So you can modify this according to your competencies, but we observe in American University of Barbados, we practice this 5 level of the competencies. Now, very quickly taking you through the SCGME core competencies, we are inspired with, because you may struggle to create your own from the scratches, or you can get guided from other CanMed or SCGME or the UK competency, CGME medical knowledge system, practice-based learning, professionalism, and communication skills. On the right side, you will see when the students enter in the basic sciences program, in their earlier semester, we have introduced history taking right from the semester 1, but the nature of the history taking would be different from the history taking at semester 4, right? And then there are 6 major rotations. And they are each level marking their level 1 as well, okay? So end of the day, when the formative assessment over times have been collected a lot of evidences about a student's performance around the year, then a clinical competency committee will sit down, which doesn't include the supervisor who have been training these students to remove the bias. Is entirely a different team will sit down and will review the supervisor's approved attainments of the EPAs, and also review other evaluation methods coming from peer, for example, colleagues, peer, or from the senior residents teaching the junior residents, or the preceptors, or the supervisor, clinical supervisors. Those are also put together to decide on entrustment of EPAs, right? And sufficient evidence is allows for the committee to take a decision who certified and who would not. Okay. Very quickly, we'll do this. Hasnan, do the time permit to go for the second round of the Slido?
Yeah, I think we still have time.
Okay. Okay, so can we go for the second? But let me upload, because with the Slido, the issue is they have updated this. So issue is that we have to upload this question very quickly, but it'll take 1 minute for me to upload the next series of 3 questions. Because when you switch over to second round, only 3 questions are allowed at a time unless you subscribe. So then you have the 3 earlier I showed you are gone. Now this 3 will come up. I'll add on another. I add on the third one. Okay, now I'll be comfortable and moving on to slideshow. Number 4. So you can scan again.
Yes.
I hope it comes up. Yeah, there it is. Okay, you can scan and go on to question number 4, which says, which rating method do you feel more effective for providing constructive feedback to students, a numeric checklist or a narrative rubric, and why? Again, 4 options given to you. Right from the beginning, 83% option for the first one. So that settles the poll, most likely. Okay, good enough. So can I move to second question? So both methods combined provides a balanced approach, and this is what our apps is all about, okay? Question number 5, how do you use a 4 to 5 level rubric as used by ACGME? If you're not familiar with it, these are the core competencies by the Council for the Graduate Medical Education in USA, and CanMed is about the Canadian medical education program. So question is, how do you perceive the use of 4 to 5 level rubrics, which I have shown you, 5 level rubric I have shown you, but some of the center uses first one, the executed but not observed is not included, so you may have 4. But in AUB, in my center, we practice with 5-1. So now your poll on those 4 options. I think again, it's obvious, you are right, useful for tracking the progression over time. So that's the main intent. So I move on to the next question, which is 6. In your opinion, how could mobile apps improve the reliability and accuracy of the assessment compared to the manual methods? So I read, this is an important question, right? Why should we move from manual to technology-based? So first is that provides real-time data collection and analysis as human errors in rating the performance. They are very close, right? That's why I want you to be triggered with why we are trying to move from manual to apps-based. Streamliness the assessment process and the feedback, and can be harder to implement. So what is, are some more going for it? I think again is very clear. So it provides real-time data collection and analysis. That's why it's fair, transparent, and all. Okay. So now I'm moving to the rating format of the rating performance. There are 2, numeric and the narrative is. The numeric form is a 1 to 9 point Likert scale. You are very familiar. You have been using it in your mini CX and other workplace-based assessment. But this one I have displayed here is what we have been using it in our mini CX program, which is because our students mostly go from the earlier their MD. After the MD, they go for their residency in USA. So we follow in our assessment work the mini CX in the clinical performance is one of the assessment tool mandatory, and the format that we follow is the ACGME provided checklist. Okay, so this is the checklist we follow. Okay, so you have 1 to 9, 1 to 3 is unsatisfactory, 4 to 5 and 6 are satisfactory, 7, 8, 9 are good to excellent. Okay, so this is numeric. Now, but the problem with the numeric data is, though it provides a very structured and standardized compared to the narrative, where subjective elements will be much more, but the checklist-based approach can sometimes oversimplify the complexities of the skills that your trainees have learned, right? And especially when you are doing face-to-face. Okay, sometimes you are shy to give the real feedback face-to-face, so the app-based probably is a better option. Then numeric rating alone may not fully establish the nuance of the student's abilities to provide detailed feedback, which narrative will do. So that's why we have developed where we have the options both for narrative and summative. So, so for example, if you're doing competency-based mini CX, you can use the mark these. Definitely, you are moving on to narrative format. Okay, so to address this limitation, a narrative feedback is provided, though it will have little compromise. It is exactly like I always say, if somebody gives me an options to move back to revisit the long case, I'll be the first to move back to the long case compared to the OSCEs, which are very structured, but nevertheless, compromises, they become segmented. In the name of standardization, we are losing a lot to know the real efficiency of the student's performance. Similarly here, right? So narrative feedback may compromise on objectivity. Nevertheless, it will give you a real feedback. And I tell you more, if you go to the literature and you search, a checklist is more important or more effective or the global rating. Global rating is overall feeling of a clinician to mark a student performance compared to the checklist, right? So in that case, probably you will find literature full of the fact that the global rating has an edge over the checklist score. Okay, so that's food for thought for you to think more about it before you hang on to your outcome-based education or traditional, or you want to move on to the competency education, right? Because we are our colleagues, we have experience, we have decision making our own. So we can only guide you. Rest is your own decision or the institution decision. Okay. So the narrative rating form for clinical competencies such as mini CX in undergraduate, and then we have well-developed competency-based design. I have discussed already, but that is just the tip of an iceberg. If you attend the workshop, you will learn more in detail. These workshops soon we are going to announce. I'm doing it for my faculty, 13 back-to-back workshops, right? To learn everything about the competency-based medical education. But our book is also coming with the 4 authors book on competency-based medical education in undergraduate medical training. So that will that book will also soon be published. We have sent to Springer Nature, right? It'll be published from there, hopefully, and then we will soon be able to share the book with you, and then workshops are also will be design uses 1 to 5 level rubric, which I have demonstrated to you already. Looking at the competencies developed by CanMed, ACGME, GMC, Australia, and Saudi Arabia also. The 5 countries have well developed their competencies framework. You can get guided from them, and you can develop your own also. So we have we got guided from the ACGME because our students go to do residency. Over 90% of students go to do residency in USA, so we have to be inspired from ACGME 1. Okay. Now the narrative feedback, the 5 levels I have told you already, and up on the right hand, this box shows you the 6 core competencies of the ACGME, right? Then rating scale for the workplace assessment rubric, you have 1 to 9. The app 1, we have 1 to 9 rubric that you can use for your mini CX. And app 2 that will be demonstrated is about 4 to 5 level, 1 to 5 level actually. And this is for with the narrative comments and feedback. Okay, so the numeric features is allows for the consistent scoring across the different assessor, right? Is more consistent because when you give comments subjective, it will be little varying from one another. Then simplify, however, it simplifies the assessment process, making it less time consuming. Analytics provide immediate insight into through the feedback and all, and advantages are objective and standardized use for summative assessment. But when it comes to narrative one, features are facilitates rich descriptive feedback aligned with the 1 to 5 level rubrics, customize. It's very flexible. You can customize it to various EPAs by putting the descriptors. Because we cannot put descriptors with this because every core competencies will have sub-competencies, a huge number of sub-competencies in undergraduate program and huge number of the descriptors, so cannot be put in one app. So that you have to decide on your own, but the basics level, 5-level rubrics is provided. Advantage is support formative assessment, which is the mainstay of your looking at the progress of the student's performance and enhances the learner reflection and understanding and engagement as well. The comparison, objective, fast, ideal for summative, potentially limited compared to narrative, detailed feedback and time consuming, but offers richer insight to the learners. Here onward, I'll hand over to Hassan to show some of alignment design to fit to competency-based medical education framework, facilitates continuous monitoring, right? And then practical implication is apps can be used in tandem. Tandem, and I mean it can be used for both formative and summative, and encourages blended learning. Over to you, Hassan, from here onwards.
Okay, thank you, Prof. And let me on my camera. Yeah, so it's totally slightly different topic now we have to cover.
So, sorry to interrupt, but we are over an hour mark, so just a reminder.
Okay, we'll take a few more minutes. Hello? Hassan, can you go on?
Sure, Prof. No worries. Okay, so very quickly, as time is, almost over, mobile learning very quickly. Can you please, can I take control, Prof? Yeah, okay. Prof already highlighted like mobile learning, and we have distance learning, e-learning. So our app is to address the mobile learning when you are on a move. And I think your poll already highlights that, the important when you're using mobile apps, it's give you or opportunity to key in on the spot, your feedback or assessment, Yes, Prof, next slide. Okay, where is comparison between e-learning and mobile learning? I think on the go, on the move, and most of our smart devices, smartphones, they should be able to access. Yes, next. Next, I think just few features which we need to take care of when you are designing these apps. It should be just for 3 to 10 minutes maximum, No need to have a long, duration of engagement when you're designing these apps. Yes, next slide. Okay, the benefit here, we have like sometime, high versatility, reduced dependency, and there is a feature in mobile apps where you can work while you don't have even internet connection, So whenever you get internet connection, it will be whatever keyed in can be pushed back to the main server and you can capture this data, right? I put like medical education 4.0, so it's actually sporting 4.0. Yeah, next slide. Next, yeah, so it actually helps as a scaffolding, These are all mobile apps. And most of the time it caters informal learning scenarios, And we make sure that it fits daily workflow, like while you're waiting for something, learners can access, or even facilitators can access these apps. And sometimes the main agenda of these apps are actually to support troubleshooting, or sometimes a refresher, Okay, yes, next, please. Yeah, so actually when Prof discussed with me, I started few platforms. First one was from Microsoft. Disclaimer, I won't be getting any commission from these platforms. I'm just sharing with you our experiences. So we started with Power Apps, and I designed the app. Prof actually tested, we refined it. but somehow we notice I notice at the end that it's only for internal organization, but there are different platforms I'm still exploring, by which we can actually full-fledged professional level, you can develop app. So after that, we switch to Google site. So Google site is free to use. You can actually come up with the site design, and then you can actually convert it. It's responsive, so it can be accessed on any device. Next, so the code, I think this group would be the privileged group, those who are attending this session, because this is the first time we are sharing our app. If you want me, I can actually share my screen.
Yeah, so
You can scan
all
this
those are
QR
attending
code.
this are privileged to, which Hassan will share with the screen here, to demonstrate. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want me
Sure.
to give you the link?
So I will. It's okay. It's okay. No, I have link, Prof. I have. Okay, let me close all this. Oops. Sorry. I think, yeah, this is the one. Okay, can I confirm you're seeing now? So I use Google Sites, so it's accessible. Yes, no?
No.
So what you're seeing?
Seeing
Yeah.
the participants'
Oh, okay,
list,
okay.
their names and
I
their.
see the sites, Google. I do see it.
Yeah, you could see competency-based rating at workplace. Yeah, okay, great,
Yes.
great.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so this is the site I have created. Actually, it's just first version of this app. Okay, thanks, Dr. C, for giving feedback. So the mission already stated here. If you scroll down, we have actually a lot of videos shared, created by Prof. Shahid. So by watching these videos, you will get to know in detail. And if you click these three dots, you can get actually rating forms directly there. And as Prof highlighted, like we are even writing a chapter also. Then we have frequently asked questions also. So do visit this section even before exploring all other features. And last but not the least, please do share the feedback so that our next version of this app we can enhance and improve. Over to you, Prof.
Okay, thank you. So finally summarizing, and take away for you, the assessor's dedication in providing thorough and actionable feedback is vital in any assessment in medical education. Competency-based medical education focuses on competency developed in utilizing the assessment authentic methods, and medical education can better prepare future healthcare using technology. Dual mobile apps, that is one developed and just shown to you. Future directions, ongoing refinements and wider implementation, and a call to action would be encouraging adoption of these tools in your competency-based medical education program. And takeaway for you would be the streamlined assessment. With this app, you will find more than what you have been doing manually. Real-time tracking is possible in a very short time to give the feedback. Customization is also very important, very flexible. This tool is very flexible for dual use, data-driven insight immediately available, and enhances the engagement of the students. With this, I thank you very much. And these are the links. You can contact us on this email.
Prof, your screen is not shared.
Oh, all this while?
No, after my session. So you can share your screen now.
Oh,
Just last few slides, I think.
yeah. But I'm wondering why the screen was not shared.
Because I
Okay.
shared my screen.
Oh, you shared your screen. Okay. Oh,
No,
that's what I
it's,
was
yeah.
wondering. Okay.
Yeah,
And now
no,
can you see that?
You can switch to slide share. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So this is what I was talking about. You have already heard me saying that conclusion. So competency-based medical education focus on authentic learning, and technology will make it more dynamic. dual mobile apps we have introduced. Future direction is refinements will go on as the feedback come, and call to action would be you all can adopt to this. The takeaway would be streamlining assessment using these apps, right? Then real-time tracking, which is easily available for feedback. Customizability is very flexible, both for the numeric and the rating and the narrative form. Data-driven insight immediately available, and it enhances the engagement of students. So with this, this contact, you can contact us on this email or LinkedIn. And your questions. Over to Hasnan, you. If
Sharing
any...
the link for our app. There are actually a few questions, if we can take them quickly. Yeah, no, the QR code just now. Yeah, perfect. That's it. Yeah, so very quickly, if I pick from the chat, I think we have in our medical school declarated and provision criteria are there.
Okay, that's good to know. The accelerated program and the promotion version of the program available for those who cannot cope up. That's nice to know. We all must have, because in competency-based medical education, this is important, because every student is your responsibility to achieve ultimately, or for reasons that probation given maybe one attempt, 2 or 3. After that, you guide them or counsel them to quit the program and join some other but this deceleration progression programs are very important for any institution.
Yeah, so this comment was, sorry, this comment was from Dr. Sylvester. Then we have Dr. Shamal Malik. Checklist is good to access the procedure, global rating good for complex clinical situations. Your comment or feedback on that?
That's what you can have different level of complexity in. You can always check complexity, giving them the cases and then marking them through the checklist, right? But what is missing is the feedback in detail, personalized feedback, area to improve, right? And all this with the 5 level of the rubric for attainment of the EPAs would be missing in the checklist. So that's what makes the checklist different from the narrative. Okay?
Yeah, I think that's all. Maybe
Can I have one question from Shahid?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That
I'll be honored.
I'm beginning to think of the long case coming back somehow in the future.
Yeah. So because I'm a clinician, my clinical background is the ENT. So when I look back, we have moved quite forward from long short cases era to the OSCEs. We were so fascinated with the OSCEs that everybody moved and forgot what long cases were giving us the real effective and real authentic, I would say, because on the bedside with the real patient. Yeah. But we moved on to OSCE because we wanted to have more standardized, more station and all. But those all were segmented. When you look at the holistic impact of the student's performance, OSCE cannot give you, because they are very segmented from station to station, you know. And a long case will take you through, for example, I'm doing it in ENT, a long case gives a holistic performance of the students. So, so the school who are revisiting long cases are actually doing it on a formative scale, formative way, round the year or round the program, and ultimately, like a programmatic assessment, those all long cases done in a formative will be assessed for summative decision making. So that's a good move some school considering, because they feel we have lost in the name of standardization in OSCE, we have lost a lot the authentic assessment of the students, which was coming to us through long cases.
That's very interesting, because life is going backwards. It seems OSCEs are becoming unpopular. Very interesting to know that.
I knew only you can pick up this point because I was not very vocal on that because
Yes.
Oski has been taking so much of the appreciation. Yeah, so I was little toned down on that, but
No,
thank you very much for
frankly,
highlighting that.
Auskies have
Prof.
never impressed me because it's sketchy information and assessment. You're doing it spotlight here and there, but you know, the overall holistic, the word you use.
Exactly.
Sorry, just to add on, actually,
Oh,
Prof, we and Ms. Kina, that we have participants from Saudi also, Dr. Muna Sheikh, I think, and Dr. Helen was, yeah, I think. So if you want to actually get feedback from them, if you want that. Thanks
sure,
for, yeah.
why not? Why not? Welcome, Mona.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for this opportunity. I enjoyed the talk very much. And we have started this, we have done this EPA project, which took us about 3 years to find a consensus for the EPA in the undergraduate medical education. But we have not yet applied the mobile-based EPA workplace-based assessment. I think your experience is going to inspire us. We have signed a contract with one company, and we found their product is not useful. And I think we're in a process of developing our own. So your experience is very important to us. I really want to watch these videos that you have sent and learn from them. Thank you so much.
Okay, you are welcome with your comment, and we are always there to collaborate, as SIVU is basically to disseminate knowledge and skills globally. We aim to do that, and there's no other intention. So we always will collaborate and share with you, because your experience was the same as our experience some time back, where when this was applied, a professional, the company base, it didn't work for us as well.
So maybe, Mona, you can send your address to us, and if you can chat it to us, Sakina will note it, and then we'll get in touch with you. And
you have to say anything on this?
Yeah, and link up Shahid's activities with your university, if you like.
Hassan, your input on that question?
No, I think you have said well, and yes, we also have similar issues, when we go or buy off-the-shelf product. Sometimes it's very hard to customize, or even the terminology sometimes they use is not aligned to. So we also now back to, built in-house. Even I think Dr. Saima asked us about, can we use LMS? Yes, we tried actually, we tried.
Dr. Hassan, there are some questions in the chat box.
Sure. You can come up with. Hassan, Prof. Bukhari has pointed out to some question in the chat box.
I covered all.
Okay.
Any question which you're referring to?
Prof. Bukhari, you can come up with the question. We will love to answer.
There were in the chat box. Okay.
Yeah, all those questions, hopefully, I think I covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes,
thank
I think.
you, Shahid. Over
Thank
to
you.
Sakina to conclude. Hasnan, you've been very kind, most grateful to you, and of course, we look forward to the work you've done. Sakina, over to you, please.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining. Is there any questions? Last call. If you can think of anything now, but if you come up with any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and hope to see you again in next session. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Thank you, Professor Shahid.
Thank you, SIVU. Thank you, Sakina.